Hey guys, welcome back to more Ripestories. In this story, a crazy Florida man calls the cops on me because I refuse to let him swim in my pool. Let's dive right into the video. And the first one is titled, "We want the pool to ourselves," posted on r/petty revenge. So I posted this somewhere else and got told to post here too, so I was enjoying the weekend in a nice holiday park with cabins and various camping spots. Close to the park is a pool and a beach. It makes for a nice peaceful time. Saturday, I woke up and decided to go to the pool. I got in there and there was only one family with 4 kids. The pool has 2 shallow areas and a big pool with 6 lanes. 3 lanes were not separated so that kids could play. I gave that a wide berth and went to the other side where I could do laps and be lazy without any kids splashing around. I'd only done a few laps when I noticed the mother of these kids in my lane. I stopped and she looked at me and said, "You need to leave." I kinda just stood there and looked pointedly around the otherwise empty pools, so I asked her why. "We want the pool to ourselves." That time I laughed and shook my head. It's a public pool, you cannot have it to yourself. If you want a pool to yourself, just go buy your own. I then turned around and went back to my laps. She didn't like that, and when I stuck my head up, she was whispering to her kids and pointing at me. I figured she just told them how mean I was and went back to swimming my laps. It was not long before the kids were in my lane, trying to block me. I saw them and started doing freestyle, figuring if I hit the kids, I could always say I didn't see them. The kids are not as stupid as the parents though, and moved out of my way pretty fast once they realized I was not gonna stop. I stuck around and swam for an hour and a half until the parents began trying to get the kids to leave, which involved screaming, diving, and kids yelling that their siblings needs to get out first. It was a half-hour entertainment. I waited until they had got the kids out and into the car before I got out and dried off, making my way out of the gate. I even made sure to give them a little wave as I left. Parents glared at me as I made my way back to the cabin. I'd only planned to swim for like 10 minutes, but after they sent their kids to interrupt my swim, I figured I'd keep going just to be petty, and it worked. And yeah guys, what is it with Karens that claim that public property belongs to them and is actually private? These Karens are really out of control. If you agree, please don't forget to like the video and post some star emojis in the comments because that would help me tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. Either way, the next one is titled, "Florida man calls 911 on me because I refuse to let him swim in my pool naked." And by the way, this story is from a news subreddit about Florida man, and if you enjoy these stories, please let me know at the end of the video in the comments. So I'd been in Florida for 3 months when I realized my new neighbor Carl was a walking disaster. A literal raccoon in a human suit. Honestly, these words are not even enough to describe how unhinged that guy was. I had ditched Ohio for a quiet Sarasota subdivision. Why? Well, I was lured by a remote tech job and the promise of a chill life. Who wouldn't pick that? Nobody. My new house was a 1-story charmer with a private pool in the backyard. When I first saw that pool, I swear I almost melted. It was sparkling blue, hugged by a tall wooden fence, my own personal slice of paradise. I nearly teared up while imagining lazy afternoons floating in the water, maybe hosting a barbecue for a new few friends too. I thought, this is what life should be. What I didn't imagine, however, was Carl, that animal, shirtless, scruffy, and vomiting deranged energy, turning my dream home into a battle zone. And well, Carl was trouble from day one. I would catch him through my kitchen window, pacing his weed-choked yard in flip-flops and faded cargo shorts, his stupid scrawny chest bare, his beard looking like a neglected mess. He had this twitchy vibe, like he was always one bad choice away from starring in a viral news clip. One morning though, I saw him screaming at his mailbox, shaking his fist like it had stolen his beer. Another night, his heavy metal music blasted until 3 AM, rattling my windows and making my dog Milo to whimper. Of course, I wisely kept my distance. I would only toss him a quick wave whenever I stepped out to grab my mail or something else. He would grin annoyingly, but I never smiled back because I knew he was a hurricane waiting to happen. It was a hot Saturday in June when Carl made his first move. I was out front sweating my ass out while wrestling with my overgrown hibiscus bushes when he leaned over the fence holding a dented beer can. With the way he was grinning, you would think he had just won a bet with himself. "Yo, yes, hey you!" he called, his voice loud enough to wake the dead. "That pool of yours is straight up calling my name. Mind if I hop in for a quick dip? It's hotter than Satan's armpit out here." I wiped my brow, biting on my tongue for a second to resist rolling my eyes. "Sorry, Carl, it's a private pool, just for me and my guests, you know." I told him with a forced smile, just to be polite. But then his grin twitched and he scratched his neck.
Come on, don't be that guy. This is Florida, we're all family here. What's a little pool time between neighbors, huh?
I was starting to get pissed, but I still held my politeness. I told him, nah, I'm good. Gotta keep it clean for my own use. You get it, right? He did not get it. Of course he didn't. The grin was immediately wiped off his face and he leaned closer, his beer breath hitting me like a punch.
You some kind of stuck-up Yankee, huh? Moving down here acting all high and mighty with your fancy pool. Bet you think you're better than me, huh?
I held up my hand, still staying calm. Not at all. I would never think that. I'm just keeping things private. No hard feelings, I promise. He muttered,
no hard feelings my ass,
chucked his beer and stomped back to his house, slamming the door so hard I flinched. I shook it off, figuring he would get over it. As you might have guessed though, yes, he didn't. A few days later I woke up to, well, an unexpected surprise. My backyard gate was ajar, the pool water, usually clear as glass, was murky, with 3 empty beer cans and a soggy cigarette butt floating near the skimmer. I was feeling everything possible. Confusion, anger, frustration, you name it. I'd locked that gate myself and even checked it twice. Someone had been in my pool and Carl's name was written all over it. And by the way guys, sorry if you hear some rain in the background, the monsoon just started again and my microphone is trying really hard to noise reduce everything. Either way, unfortunately I could not confront him since I had no proof to claim that he did it, so I swallowed my frustration, anger and others and marched to Home Depot that morning and bought an industrial padlock, the kind you would need a tank to break. Except Carl suddenly became a powerful giant, he wouldn't be able to get in. I also set up a motion-activated security camera, the kind that pings your phone with alerts. You can think I was doing too much, but Carl's unhinged energy had me on high alert. 3 nights later, my phone buzzed at 1:17 AM. I bolted upright, my heart racing, and I checked the camera feed. There was Carl, butt naked, wading into my pool like he was auditioning for a low-budget horror flick. His eyes were glassy, his movements were jerky, and when he was giggling like a hyena, splashing water everywhere. In one hand, he held a small baggie, white powder, nope, no question how I knew what it was. This dude was high as a kite and treating my backyard like his personal playground. I yanked on a hoodie, grabbed a flashlight, and stormed outside. My pulse was hammering, but I let adrenaline do its thing.
Carl, what the hell are you doing?
I shouted, keeping the gate between us. He spun around, water sloshing, and flashed a grin that was all teeth and no soul.
Yo, chill out, dude. Just taking a midnight swim. This water's like frickin' heaven.
His voice was way too loud, like he was performing for an invisible crowd. I genuinely thought he had gone completely crazy. Get out of my pool, Carl. You're trespassing and you're naked for Christ's sake. He laughed. For a second I wondered what was funny in what I said.
Trespassing? What? We're neighbors. This pool's basically community property. You gotta learn to share. Stinginess kills.
He splashed water towards me, still clutching that baggie like it was his lifeline. It's my property and you are high as hell. Get out or I'm calling the cops. His teeth instantly disappeared and his face dared to form a frown.
Oh, you're gonna call the pigs on me? You little snitch.
He waded towards the pool's edge like a shark hunting prey. I backed up, gripping my flashlight tightly. He climbed out, dripping water all over my deck. He staggered towards me, still naked and still holding that damn baggie.
You think you can just move in here and tell me what to do? This is my turf, dude. My turf.
I shifted back again. I was honestly starting to get scared. Look, the guy's crazy and I was armed with nothing but my flashlight. As scared as I was, I could not let him see it. Back off, Carl, I'm not messing around. He got too close, way too close, and before I could step back again, he shoved me hard in the chest. The pain and force of the push made me stumble, my shoulders slamming into the fence. My dearest flashlight hit the ground with a clatter.
Don't mess with me, you little punk,
he roared, his breath a toxic mix of cheap beer and another smell I couldn't place my hand on.
I will burn this whole damn place down.
He was not even in his right mind. I had to be strong and stand my ground even though my heart was in my throat. Back off, Carl, last warning. He laughed again, making me really wonder whether my tone sounded funny. And then here is where it gets absolutely insane. He pulled out his phone and frickin' dialed 911.
Yeah, hi, I need help.
He whined stupidly, his voice flipping to pathetic in a heartbeat.
My neighbor's frickin' attacking me. She's got a metal pipe or some crap, waving it around, screaming at me. I'm scared, dude.
He winked at me like he was pulling the funniest prank in the world. I stood there, jaw literally on the floor, as he spun a wild tale about me going psycho and threatening to bash his skull in. This guy had just broken into my yard, swam naked in my pool, shoved me, and now he was playing victim. I couldn't believe the nerve. I waited, arms crossed, trying not to lose it as he rambled to the dispatcher, throwing in fake sniffles for effect. Sometime later, 2 deputies rolled up. I got to know that they were Officer Ruiz and Officer Tate. Carl, now wrapped in a towel he had swiped from my patio chair, was still laying it on thick, pointing at me and whining.
"This lady's nuts, officers. I was just minding my own business and she comes out swinging. Look at me, I'm shaking, I'm so traumatized."
Ruiz took one look at Carl and raised an eyebrow. "Sir, step over here and calm down," she ordered. I almost laughed because she sounded like a teacher dealing with a tantrum. Tate pulled me aside asking for my side. I simply showed him the camera footage. After he watched the video, his face went blank. "Well, pal," he said, turning to Carl, "looks like you're the one stirring up trouble here. You got your ID on you?" Carl stammered. Of course he did.
It's in my house, officer, I swear."
But Ruiz was already handcuffing him. "Trespassing, public intoxication and possession," she said, nodding at the baggie.
"You're coming with us."
Carl lost it, trashing in the cuffs shamelessly.
"This is bullcrap. She's lying. That footage is fake, man. You cannot do this. I'm a free American."
Ruiz did not even blink. She just guided him to the cruiser, like he was a misbehaving toddler. I pressed charges that night. The deputies said the footage made it airtight. Carl spent the night in lockup, and I got a restraining order fairly soon after all of this. For a week, things were unbelievably quiet. I scrubbed my pool until it sparkled, upgraded my lock to an even better status, and started sleeping with a baseball bat by my bed. Milo seemed relieved too because there was no more midnight music waking him up, but Carl was not done yet. I'd underrated this guy, thinking he'd change after what happened. It was a humid Tuesday evening 10 days later, and I was grilling burgers on my patio when my phone pinged. I was shocked to hear the motion alert. I checked the camera feed and felt my blood run cold. There was Carl, drunk as hell, a bottle of whiskey in one hand, trying to climb my fence. He was yelling my name and slurring threats.
"You think you can snitch on me, you little rat? I'm gonna teach you respect."
His rumpled shirt was half tucked, his eyes were bloodshot, and he was swaying like a palm tree in a store. I quickly grabbed my phone and dialed 911. There was no way I could deal with Carl all by myself. "My neighbor is trying to break into my yard. Again," I told the dispatcher. "He's drunk, violating a restraining order, and I've got him on camera." Well, what can I say? Ruiz and Tate showed up a bit later again. Carl was sprawled on my patio chair, chugging whiskey and mumbling God knows what. When he finally saw me, he shouted,
"I'm gonna sue you, you and your fake cameras. This is my turf."
He tried to stand up, but he stumbled and knocked over my citronella candle, sending wax everywhere. Ruiz sighed. "Poor lady, you're violating a restraining order, sir," she said, hauling him up. "And you're drunk in public. Again." Carl kept ranting.
"This is tyranny. You cannot lock up a free man."
But Tate shook his head. "Save it for the judge, buddy." They cuffed him and stuffed him in the cruiser. His stupid whiskey bottle was left behind on my patio. I pressed charges again. This time, it was a restraining order violation and another count of trespassing. At the hearing, Carl's public defender tried to spin him as a troubled soul needing rehab, but the judge in charge was not having it.
"You've had your chance, Mr. Carl. You're a danger to this community."
She gave him 6 months in county jail. A month later, a moving truck rolled up to Carl's place. A guy in a polo, who was probably his landlord supervised as movers, hauled out Carl's junk. It was nothing much. Basically just a sagging couch, a busted TV, and piles of empty beer cans. I watched from my porch, sipping iced coffee and feeling like I'd survived the siege. My pool was clean, my gate was secure, and the neighborhood was finally quiet. That's the life I deserve in Florida. And yeah guys, if you ever had a Florida man neighbor, what would you do in this situation? This certainly sounds like a nightmare that I don't want to experience. The next one is from r/bestof, and it is titled, "While defending his sister, my son pushed an older bully, knocking out the bully's teeth. Am I liable for medical expenses and pain and suffering?" So this happened in New Mexico. This last weekend, my 9-year-old son was playing basketball with my 10-year-old daughter in the driveway. I was inside making their dinner. My son ran inside the house to use the bathroom, leaving his sister shooting hoops alone outside. One of the neighbor boys, 12 years old, henceforth known as the bully, rode by on his bike with a couple of friends and started teasing and hassling my daughter. He has done this many times before at their school and has been warned against it by the teachers. He has also come onto my driveway before, calling my daughter dirty names and pushing her and basically being a bully. I've caught him before and warned him away from my property. I even mentioned it to his parents at a recent school event, but they either didn't care or didn't believe me, or both. Back to the story though, so my son runs inside to use the bathroom, and my daughter stays outside playing. The bully then comes onto my driveway and starts calling my daughter names, and pushing her and actually punches her in the arm and chest. She tries to defend herself by pushing back, but she's very small for her age, and he is quite big for his. My son, who is also big for his 9 years, sees this as he comes back outside and runs at the bully and blindside punches him, causing the bully to fall onto his bike. There's lots of blood coming from the bully's mouth. By this time, my daughter is screaming, my son is crying, and the bully is hovering between crying and getting angry, and I hear all of the commotion and I run outside. I ask what happened, and I get two contradictory stories. The bully basically says that he was hit by my son unprovoked, and my kids say otherwise. I tell the bully to stay there, and I run inside to get a clean towel and some water to help clean up. When I get back outside, he is gone, home presumably. I calm my kids down, clean them up and take them inside to eat. Afterwards, I review the security camera footage that is running 24/7, showing the front of the house and driveway. The video pretty much 100% confirms my kids' story. Last night, which is several days after the event, the bully's father knocks on my door and tells me that he had to take his son to the ER because his teeth were broken, and then later to the dentist. He wants me to pay for all these expenses plus $1,000 for pain and suffering, otherwise he's going to the cops and press charges against my son for hitting his son and then sue me. I told him I had video of the event that showed his 12-year-old son on my property, despite being warned previously to not ever come back, pushing and hitting my daughter, who's younger and smaller than the bully, and my 9-year-old son running up to push the bully to stop him from hitting her. His son fell onto his bike, which was the cause of the broken teeth because of the push. I then told him to pound sand and to get off my property. Am I liable for covering this? I don't even want my homeowner's insurance to pay him anything, if that's even covered. My son is allowed to defend his sister, who was being physically assaulted, right? All he tried to do was push his sister's attacker to stop him hitting her. My son won't get charged for this, will he? Should I call the police first? And yeah guys, let me know in the comments what you would have done in this situation, and do you think OP is in the right or in the wrong here? Let me know what you think. By the way, I assume he hasn't yet, as I haven't heard anything from them. Comment number 1, to me it sounds like defense of others, aka your son used reasonable force, a push, to defend his sister from a similar level of force being used on her. I wouldn't pay. If it were me, I would actually report the bully for battery and trespass, and also the parents' demands amount to criminal extortion, so you can feel free to report that to the police as well. The fact that the bully fell on his bike and was seriously injured is too bad, so sad from a criminal point of view. Maybe someone can enlighten from a tort POV. Update: I received lots of advice to go to the police and a lot to not go to the police, and in the end I listened to my family friend and those here who said no to go to the cops. The cops in my town are known to be very sketchy anyway. I refused to pay the father any money for his son's medical expenses, and I ignored the certified letter he sent me demanding payment. As far as I know, he did not sue me. I did decide to go to the principal and complain again about the constant bullying and showed her the video of the incident. She made sympathetic comments and said she would investigate, but I could tell she just wanted me out of her office. She said that she couldn't do anything that occurred away from the school and said she would talk to the bully and his teachers and deal with him appropriately. She spoke to my daughter and the bully, and then nothing happened. I spoke to the teacher and she told me that the principal doesn't do discipline well and only cares about district politics. To be honest, I didn't care because the bully stopped picking on my daughter and moved on to another victim. I felt bad, but what could I do? A few days after I went to the principal, the cops showed up at my house to speak to me and the kids about the incident. I refused to let them in the house or answer their questions, but I did offer to email the cop the videos of the incident and the father's threat to pay the medical bills, or else he would call the cops. I never heard back from them, and since then my daughter and bully both started middle school. Unfortunately, the principal was promoted to be the principal of the middle school and transferred when my kids did. It turns out the latest victim of the bully was another girl who had no older siblings or younger brothers. It was not generally known, but it also turns out that she was the granddaughter of the principal. I knew because I know the principal's daughter-in-law, the mother of the latest victim. I don't know all the details, but it seems that since the bullying involved her granddaughter, much more stringent discipline was available. The bully was suspended from school and transferred to a school in the district for problem kids, so he is now another school's problem. I guess if my daughter had been related to the principal, that could have happened over a year ago. It just shows that it's all about who you know. In case you're interested, my daughter and son have both started Taekwondo and they absolutely love it. And yeah guys, I gotta say, I despise bullying and that principal was awful, almost as bad as the bully himself. And yeah, let's just say, I don't wish that bully anything good in life. Before we end the video, we will read one last funny story from r/petty revenge. It is titled, "My college roommates and her friends would eat all of my food, so they ate brains." So I was in college full-time and working full-time, so I had little time to do meal prep. I would make enough meals for a few days and then store them on my designated shelf in our shared dorm fridge. I would come home from a very long day and just want to eat and relax, but I would almost always have no food left. 9 times out of 10 I would actually walk into them eating my meals. They would even have the guts to say how good it tasted and they are sad there wasn't more. I've asked over and over to stop eating my damn food, but nope, they wouldn't listen. So then I went home to my parents' house and made a lot of spaghetti. Good spaghetti, knowing they would most certainly eat the whole thing. Sure enough, I get home to my dorm after a long day and these 3, not even my roommates, girls are standing in the kitchen eating my spaghetti and the huge bowl is almost gone. The one girl says to me how much she loves it and wants to know how I made it. Well then, straight-faced, I tell her that it is a common meal we make on the farm. We go to the butcher, get some head cheese, that's the meat in the spaghetti. She was confused, they are total city kids by the way, and did not know what head cheese was. I answer, well, it is pig brains. It's really good, isn't it? That's what most of my meals are made from. This girl, I kid you not, then throws my bowl of spaghetti down and runs to the bathroom, puking everywhere. The others took off out of the dorm running too. That is how I ended them stealing my food with such sweet petty revenge. Nobody touched my food ever again, nor did they talk to me. Win-win. Also, by the way, the meat was not head cheese or brains, it was pork sausage and very lean beef mixed together to resemble cooked pig brains. Edit, alright, damn, head cheese is not brains, it's everything, but in my family we just use that term as all-encompassing. Every family has things like that and that's one of ours. And by the way guys, I'm curious, have you ever eaten brain before? The only time I did it was in China and they basically have brain with a spicy tofu soup, it's called mapo tofu. And it's really damn good. It's like a super numbing spicy chili, liquid sauce, soup, whatever you call it, with tofu and brains. You should definitely try it if you get the chance. Either way, thank you for watching, I will see you again tomorrow.